Welcome back to Fast Biz Talks. Today I'm joined by Mike Stafiej, CEO of ERIN, the number one employee referral platform in the world. Mike's team helps companies streamline, scale, and optimize one of the most powerful hiring channels out there, employee referrals. With over 3 million users, ERIN is transforming how companies manage referrals, bonuses, and engagement, all while taking a massive burden of HR teams. In this conversation, we will also explore Mike's journey as an entrepreneur, how he got to where he is today, what he's learned along the way, and what it really takes to build a category-leading platform from the ground up. Mike, I know about your product now for a year, so I'm really excited to interview you today. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be on. Excited to talk more about some software and nerd out.
Great. So, Mike, for those just getting to know you and your company, I would like to that you share with us what your company is about, what does the platform do, and how does it help HR teams solve what you call the mind-boggling task.
Yeah, for sure. We're an employee referral platform. So ERIN helps engage employees to participate in referrals, and then we automate everything from referral to payment. So it's one of those problems that on the surface sounds very easy, especially if you're not in the talent acquisition world. But the reality is that there's a lot of moving parts to enforce these bonus policies before payment is due. We work with businesses that are often large and very complex, with a lot of rules and a lot of things that somebody's manually checking before when the referral is made and also before the payment is issued. So checking that all of that for them and then flattening this all out becomes a real value add to our customers. Another way to think of that is, large complex businesses have different rules in different countries, different job types, different employee types, who's eligible, who's not. Did that person work here before? Is the person referring them on the hiring team? Things like that we're streamlining and completely automating. So it's a manual task that has gone full automation.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And right now, can you tell us like your role inside the company? I know when you started up and a little bit more about your career and your beginnings.
Yeah, for sure. So we started, I think 7 years ago now. So I'm the CEO and founder. Don't be too impressed. I looked a lot younger back then when I started the company. We started back in 2018, officially launched January of 2019. And it's been a pretty wild ride. My background personally, I'm a nerd gone sales guy, gone business guy, right? So I never, just from the entrepreneurship view, I never thought I'd really be doing this, to be honest. Like I always had a drive to create something, but I was just going to be the IT guy. That's all I ever wanted.
Yeah, great. That reminded me on my beginnings, and I like to see, I'm 42 years right now, but I have 45 years of working experience because I worked over time,
Yeah.
so yes, I also used to be a little younger, but yeah. So I know that you position ERIN as the number one employee referral platform in the world. So I would like that you share with us what are some of the key features or experiences that make it so effective at scale.
Yeah, for sure. And like, there's been a lot of great referral products out there. There's other great referral products out there right now. The real difference between kind of ERIN and anything else that's ever existed is that enterprise focus, right? And we didn't always have that. We found that as we work with our customers. I like to say we're great software people. We're not TA people, but we're good problem solvers. So we've been able to take the problems that these large customers have and then apply a solution through software. What that's created is honestly solutions that we never could have thought of on our own. But as we work closely with our customers, so some examples of that is the ability to have different experiences for employees based on what policy they belong to. Somebody in the US might get $1,000 for a referral bonus after 90 days. Somebody in Spain might get 1,500 euros after 60 days, right? So not only identifying kind of who's who and who's eligible for what, and then checking that uniquely against the policies, but also providing a real-time experience for the employee. So it's a dynamic experience, meaning you'll only ever see what you're eligible for. So two people could be looking at the same job and seeing something completely different. That's really separated us from anybody else in the market. especially, I mean, obviously for enterprise international businesses, they're operating out of, dozens of countries, and they have dozens of people managing this. We've now been able to make that a single experience. So not only that, the other problem that people run into is the handling this much data at scale, right? So if you just want to submit a referral, super easy. If you want to process 100,000 candidates on every sync per company, just to see what happened with that candidate, it not only becomes very hard to maintain, but it becomes very expensive, right? So it's unfortunately, newer businesses don't have the bandwidth to support that. We've grown into that, and I'm very thankful for that. But it's allowed us to really just keep doubling down on that enterprise focus.
Yeah, I see. Thanks a lot for the answer. So, but let's talk now about the, I would say, like ideal clients and maybe a couple of use cases. So, who are the ideal companies or teams to use ERIN, and what kind of results do they typically see? Can you just give us some example, please?
Yeah, for sure. So typically, our average customer size is about 30,000 employees, but we go down as low as 1,000 employees. Our bread and butter is really that 2 to 10,000, but we have such big customers on the other side that it brings that average up. The reason that line being drawn at 1,000 is so critical is because this doesn't really become a problem that you need a solution for until that point. You may think it is, and you may need it, but it can be very temporary, right? So we used to sell almost exclusively under 1,000 employees. The way we solve this problem, again, it becomes very expensive to maintain, and you're kind of like a nice to have. But when you're in the larger side, you become infrastructure. Hey, we can't rip that out because this is doing the work of what we had 12 different people doing across the world before. So the working with businesses that are sizable enough to get the maximum value, that really kicks in once you're a couple thousand employees. What I mean by that is there's a lot of things happening, and you have thousands and thousands of referrals. So somebody's got to go through and check the eligibility on them, make sure the right thing's happening, process payroll. It becomes a real problem, or at least an annoyance at that point. And the bigger you get, the more painful that problem becomes to solve manually. So a couple thousand employees, we work mostly with talent acquisition. Often the VP of TA becomes our champion. And they're looking at this as a strategic way to solve their problem, meaning not just like, oh, I want to automate this thing. They're saying, hey, what if my funnel went from 10% hires referrals to 30% hires from referrals? If I did that, what would happen? It's usually lower cost per hire, a faster hire, and a higher quality hire that's going to stick around longer.
Yeah, thanks. And you mentioned like different kind of the markets, like countries. Like I believe that you have clients worldwide, right?
Yep, 100%. We have a lot of domestic clients in the U.S. as well, but plenty of probably at least half our customer base is international.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So I know that you got over 3 million users, which is really massive. And I would like to know, like, what's helped you grow to this level, and what makes ERIN different from anything else on the market?
Yeah, I'll tell you that we got lucky on a deal years ago. This company needed help. We were able to bend over backwards at a price that was, obnoxious. And once we got that, we were able to say, hey, we can support this customer who at the time was 200,000 employees.
Wow.
And being able to say we can do that and support that base, we were able to leverage that against all the other conversations. Part of the problem with this space is that there's no real, at least until ERIN came along, there was no real category leader, right? So being able to say, hey, I know you're big and complex, but we've seen big and complex and we've solved that before. We can do it again. It just kept happening, right? We've been able to keep parlaying that. And honestly, we initially didn't even know what the hell we were doing. We designed this for smaller companies. Once we plugged it into a bigger company, it broke plenty of times. But we were able to figure it out and then keep making it better. So that by the time we got to that fifth, sixth conversation of a company that size, they would ask us questions and be like, oh yeah, we figured that out. We already solved that. We did this. And we could show it to them in real time in the UI. And they're like, wow, I can't believe you guys are doing like such nuanced stuff that we've been banging our heads against the wall on. So that's really helped us. Like our customer base, not only super supportive, but like they have designed the product every step of the way. And that's allowed us to create features that somebody that's not leading an enterprise TA org that's allowed us to basically figure out how they think and what problems they want to solve, and that's allowed us to build features that just don't exist anywhere else.
Yeah, that's amazing approach, and always when we also develop a couple of products in our kitchen, we always try to be also like users or clients centered. Like we are getting the feedback, and then we know what they need. Sometimes they even don't understand what they need until you show them up. So yeah, I completely agree with you and with your approach. You reminded me when you said that it was like upside downs and it was like messy at the beginning. Like Mario Andretti, he said one great sentence in the past: "If everything seems under control, you're not going fast enough."
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the reason now you scale it up, but probably to the beginnings you didn't have all the things under control, right? So, but amazing. I know that referrals seem simple, but human behavior isn't. So, what have you learned about what actually motivates employees to refer others?
Yeah, we run into this all the time. Like, I mean, we talk to these big businesses, they're slow moving. They can barely send an email out to everybody without 6 levels of approval, right? So they're, not all the time, but it's common that people say, well, what if people aren't going to use it, right? Like, what if they're not going to do the things we want them to do? And we start the conversation with like, look, first off, like they have no idea how to do anything with the program today. So just by making this easier and telling them about it, it's going to get you some results. But the reality is that this becomes a bank account for employees. So it's always a pain to roll out a new product and get employees to use it. But when you say I'm going to pay you to use it, that changes things dramatically. Now we've really zeroed in on like what is the right amount to pay, and it can be industry specific, it can be rule specific. But the ones that pay a bonus versus the ones that don't are dramatically better because it's a real incentive directly to the employee. It's been really interesting to see the data in terms of like how we thought people would use the product versus how they actually use it. And I'll tell you the one big thing that we saw is that referrals are still being sent to email addresses. So we have the ability to send it directly to a phone number. You can add somebody right from your contact list, but they're still using email addresses, which is interesting because I may have your phone number handy, but I may not have your email address handy. However, it kind of makes sense. And when you look at it from the perspective of like, this is somebody that's on the job hunt and they are sharing their resume, they are using their email to go through the process at times. So the text message is convenient, but still overwhelmingly email addresses are used for communication.
Yeah, great. And I have just one additional questions to everything what you said. Do you get any feedback like is this the, let's say, the money that only motivates them, or they also would like to have, let's say, some of the colleague or people that they know who are willing to be the part and be like shoulder to shoulder, with that. Yeah. So different
You're
kind of
100%
thing.
right. Like, so like every organization, even without a good referral program in place, is going to have referrers, right? Because ultimately we want to get our friends jobs, right? So
Yeah.
I love working here. I think you'd really like it too. Come on over. It's a great opportunity. That's going to happen. But that is not often that takes that's not your standard mindset. Not because anybody, they may not want to refer there. They're just not thinking about it. It's not their job to think about talent acquisition. So you have to kind of shift that, like, hey, we're not just going to blast you out every job we have every week. How do we engage the employee to get them to think about this just enough that we're on top of their mind when the right opportunity and the right job comes up? And providing that other incentive keeps them actually coming back. So I will always your common person will always refer their friend that wants a job, right? Whether you pay them or not. But what keeps them checking every day or every week is, am I going to get my money, right? So that is what has changed the game for us in the sense that it takes a one-time experience and turns it into a 10-time experience as they go through the process. As they're waiting on their bonus, we're sending them alerts and updates every step of the way. So it becomes a really like a high touch thing that's then making them much more likely to be thinking about it 10 weeks later and still make another referral.
Yeah, that's great. I know in as you said, people will always refer other people, especially if they have a good employer or they're the part of some amazing startup or corporation, right? So they will always have the best for their friends and people that they know. So they will make, like
Yeah,
joyful shifts, at the work at the end of the day. But yeah, this kind of incentive is always highly motivating people as well. So I would like to know more about your entrepreneurial story. So you mentioned something at the beginning, but I would like to know, how did this journey start for you, and what pushed you to build something like ERIN? Like what was
yeah.
your first beginnings, and then how you made a decision? Okay, this will be the product, or let's say a vertical or industry where we'll put our focus.
Yeah, it can be a long story, so I'm going to give you the short version.
All
But
right.
when I went to school to be a developer, quickly realized that I'm not going to be good enough to be a developer. I can think like a developer, but I can't write code like a developer. So I started in the tech world, almost help desk support. It was cooler sounding than that, but that's really what it was. And I found out that if I could talk and explain technical concepts to people without making them feel dumb, that's kind of valuable in this world when you're trying to sell a bunch of software, right? So I became a sales engineer. Eventually wanted the glory for myself, became a salesperson. And I worked only at startups. And coincidentally, I had something to do with it, but both of those startups that I worked at were very successful. Eventually said, I'm going to do it on my own. Like, I'm tired of making somebody else's dream come true. I'm going to make my own dream come true. Quit my job, started a company, and it was the first time I ever failed, right? I completely fell flat on my face. And I share that often with people because, usually your first time, you're not going to figure it out. And you think you have this golden track record where everything you touch turns to gold. The reality is that you will not make it, and you may have a great idea, but you may not have a good business. And the ability to recognize that and pull the plug so that the next thing can come is really critical. So I had one or two experiences like that where I had a ton of startup experience. I gave it my swing. I had misses, but eventually fell into a situation that created ERIN, where I was actually an entrepreneur in residence at a venture builder in New York, where we were trying to solve some problems. Our original concept of ERIN was way out there, like blockchain and paying people and with smart contracts and all this stuff. Nobody knew what the hell we were talking about, but we realized that they did want referrals. So we really doubled down on that and kept going after it. And it took a long time to figure out really what the product should do. When we launched it, it had, half of the needed functionality for somebody to use it, but they filled in the gaps for us pretty quickly. So there was just enough of a problem for those size companies that they were going to keep giving us a shot, and we were able to fill in the gaps and then eventually get to a really good spot.
All right, amazing. But let's talk now like about the beginnings of ERIN. So I would like to know, what were one or two of the biggest challenges you faced in the early years of building your company, and how did you
Look,
navigate them?
we when we abandoned the whole blockchain nonsense early on. We knew it's too confusing and just product market fit wasn't there. But I really became obsessed with this idea that you can connect your network and it would tell you who to refer. That's really the first product that we built. We were not a workflow automation tool. It's simply like, hey, your employees want to refer, they just don't know who to refer, so we're going to tell them who to refer. And we built this, we started building it, and then Cambria Analytics happened in 2018. So if anybody doesn't remember that, before 2018, Cambria Analytics, you can connect to these platforms to get any data you wanted. Like, it didn't matter. Like, it was the Wild West. Once that happened, everybody locked down what data you had access to if it wasn't directly yours. So the whole data pipeline that we were relying on to make these recommendations completely got shut off on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on everything. That pretty much should have killed the company, to be honest. We were able to kind of just do these like other ways of getting the data through people. It was not great. It was expensive. It didn't work great. But it allowed us to at least finish our MVP and get out there. So, the moral of that is just like it completely stopped the show, and we pushed through. And it turns out we weren't even going to build that. We weren't even going to keep building that product anyway. We did abandon that after about a year, but it got us to a spot where we could at least get feedback from our potential customers, and then learn how to build a product there. So that was pretty critical. The other one is that once we made the leap into enterprise, I mean, honestly, we were just out of our league. Like we were dealing with very complex platforms. I mean, integrating with HR tech stacks is very hard. And I used to tell people how easy it was. Oh, we can do that, we can get it. But when you work with these very big companies, everything's customized, and you feel more like a custom dev shop than you feel like a product, because you're trying to get data unique to them into something that should work the same for everybody, right? So that creates quite the challenge. And I mentioned earlier, not even just the uniqueness of each customer at that size, but it's just the volume, right? When you really want to make sure you covered all your bases, you need to make sure that you get all the data so that you can analyze it. And it just becomes very expensive and very much a heavy lift very fast. So you need to be smart. And we weren't always smart. I broke many APIs, trying to brute force my way to get things. But eventually we figured out the right way to do it, to optimize it, not only for results, but also for costs.
All right, I see. Yeah, like I remember that time, like about Cambridge Analytics and everything. Like it was a complete mess, especially here in Europe. We, like you don't have that in US, like GDPR compliance and everything, and how your data will get collected and all other things. Yeah. So I saw a couple of memes, that in the future websites will be just that you need to click like 10 times in order to just browse for, I don't know, like NBA games results, So yeah. So as a founder and also CEO of a market leader, like what's a leadership principle or lesson that shaped how you build and lead the teams?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think one of the things I reflect on often is just like, what do you do after you raise money? And what you're going to do as a first-time founder that raises money, you're going to mess it up. Your VCs are gonna pressure you to do things to show instant progress. That honestly, if I could go back in time, I would change how we deployed that capital in different ways. I probably would have done it completely different, to be honest. But I think that's the benefit of having, doing around and then doing it again later, because then you learn from that and you can be much more cost effective. The one thing, I mean, it's just the goal is not to raise money. But when you do raise money, you should maximize that to your benefit. Ideally, so you never have to raise it again, unless it's part of your strategic plan. But I think making sure that you balance kind of what and don't get ahead of yourself with like, oh man, we're crushing it. I mean, when we raised money, we were absolutely crushing it, right? Like, so like we were on fire, and it's just like we're just so far ahead of our skis, like it was crazy. The other thing too is that related to that scenario, but ongoing, is hire slow, fire fast. Startups are not for everybody, and you will find really good, talented people that do not fit in at a startup, and that's difficult, and that's on you as a leader to figure out how to identify that, so you don't keep making the same mistake, because it can be a painful thing for people to go through on all sides. You invest heavily in these people, they're smart, they're talented, but for whatever reason, startups are not their thing, and that becomes difficult as a leader, and you don't want to keep making that mistake. So making sure you really don't rush into, hey, we need another developer, so let's just go hire one, or we need another customer success person, let's just go hire one. You want to make sure you really pump the brakes, really vet them out, really pressure test them to make sure that they know what they're getting into, and you know what you're getting into, so that you're minimizing your chance of having to change course later. But yeah, hire slow, fire fast, and once you get to the point where somebody's not working out, there's no sense in dragging it out. You just need to move on, do what you can to support them to get to their next thing, and pull the plug. And I know that might sound harsh for a lot of people, but that's kind of part of this game, which is like, it is a life raft. And if you have people hanging on the side, the people that are in the life raft are going to suffer because of that. So you need to really think thoughtfully about your hiring and your changes.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. What I learned in my career, I mean, like the whole my career was entrepreneurial career. I don't know to say fortunately or unfortunately didn't work for somebody else, and because I believe that every kind of the job, either it's entrepreneurial journey or if I'm employee, has like a good and the bad things, right? So what I realize, I always try to bootstrap the things, when we are providing some services, either development, mobile web app, development, whatever it is, we took the profit and then we, with our own resources, knowledge, and lessons learned, we try to bootstrap and try to launch some of the projects, right, technology projects. And then I realized that also there is no some rule set in a stone if it's better. Then I realized, okay, we needed more time that way, or if we had the money on our bank account that we raised and then just executed faster on something. And yeah, that's it. And another things, when you see that some of your products, at least in my experience, is, let's say, growing but growing slowly, I like to say quitting while you are winning is not the same as giving up. And always, sometimes you need to make a tough decisions, whether to stop working on this product anymore, because okay, you reach maybe 10,000 users, but that you will not reach 100,000, and then you
Yeah.
just need to shut it down. And for me, that was like really tough decisions in my entrepreneurial journey while trying to work on all of that. I have another question for you. If we talk about the future of employee referrals, you know that like the whole market change, especially when COVID hit our beautiful world, and then now it's AI. So I would like to know, like, where do you see the employee referral space going, especially with AI automation and those evolving workforce dynamics?
Yeah, I mean, I do truly believe they're going to be more impactful than ever. We're headed into a space very quickly with not only AI candidate filtering, but AI applications, right? So I mean, we're pretty much already here. You're going to go from 60 applicants per hire to 10,000 applicants per hire, right? Like there will just be a sea of noise because everybody can create it and everybody can cut it down. So you can have all these applicants being created by AI, all these candidates being denied by AI, and it's in on top of that, you're going to have automation in the process, even if you make it past the first gate, where you're going to be hiring people that never actually talk to a human at your organization, which is pretty wild. I mean, we already see it happening. So that human connection, while still streamlining the process, so creating efficiencies where there were inefficiencies, is critical. I mean, your workforce is your biggest recruiting arm. So tapping into that and creating a much better experience and hire throughout the process is 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 now like just 10 times more important than it was even 5 years ago, right? Obviously, COVID created a hyperinflated market when it comes to hiring, but we're watching everything that we've done for the last 20 years just get undone by AI, and things are changing fast. So that I'm a big believer in everybody still embracing that and taking advantage of the efficiencies, but still keeping humans talking to humans.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. I have two more questions. Easier one for you. I would like to share that you share with us, like for someone listening who is building maybe their own SaaS or HR tech product or any, let's say, technology product. What's one piece of advice you'd offer from your own experience?
Yeah, I think you need to keep the end goal in mind, right? So when you start building something, it's easy to just build the easy way, but there's a lot to consider that may not matter to you now, but it may matter later. Now, sometimes that's just a cost analysis of like, hey, we can deal with it later if we get there, because we may not actually ever get far enough to develop that problem. The other thing, I do think it's important to work with people that know what they're doing. We have spent years undoing spaghetti code, right? So having a thoughtful approach to building it is critical. I also think the game has changed dramatically. Like, look, when we built the first version of ERIN, nothing that you have today existed even 7 years ago, right? So finding a partner that's going to be able to advise you, not only the best way to build it, but the most efficient way to build it. And if you're not using AI, then you're kind of out of your mind at this point. There's a lot of like low level grunt work stuff to get something off the ground, and AI wipes that out, right? So knowing somebody that can, maximize, or partnering with somebody that can maximize kind of the outcome for the cost and have better code is all just being amplified by the tools that have, even a couple months old at this point. But they do a great job. I mean, it's pretty wild, right? Like we're in a whole new world. It's a whole new game when it comes to software development. And you need to work with somebody that's kind of on that cutting edge to make sure you get the best thing out of it.
Yeah, thanks. And finally, for anyone listening who wants to learn more about ERIN or connect with you directly, what's the best way to reach out?
Yeah, erinapp.com. So ERINAPP.com. We're also on LinkedIn, and my name's Mike Stafiej. You can find me on the website, but also on LinkedIn. Connect with me. I'm always happy to chat with people and see how we can help them or give them advice anywhere we can.
Yeah, great. We will share the website and all in the description of this video as well. So, Mike, thank you for sharing your journey and giving us a deeper look into how ERIN is changing the game in employees referrals. So your story, how to say that from idea to 3 million users, is a real example of what's possible when you combine deep insight, smart product design, and basically how you said, like maybe not the best way, but I would like to say the optimized ways for execution, right? So to all our listeners, if referrals are part of your hiring strategy or should be, definitely take a look at ERIN. This platform is doing something truly different. So until next time, build smart, live with clarity, and scale what matters. This was Fast Biz Talks. See you soon with the new guests.